Okay, welcome subscribers, welcome everyone. We're going to get right into the stock market charts on this channel. We cover technical analysis, trade ideas, point out what the charts are telling us, and really base everything off of the technicals. So we'll get right into it. Leave me a thumbs up if you guys find value. And as I'm going along, if you guys are interested in learning some of the skill set and the tools that I use, as well as the techniques, take my stock training technical analysis course, link in the description below. All right, let's get into it. We're going to start off here with tech, triple Qs. So there's actually a lot going on today, which is to be expected. We had a Fed meeting yesterday, and it's not so much what the Fed says, because the Fed will say one thing and do another. We know that's very common. You know, they'll say they're going to hike rates, and they don't hike it. And that's what happened yesterday, is basically the Fed came out and said that they're noticing inflation, and, you know, they're potentially going to hike a little bit earlier than expected. But then they didn't do any hikes, which was expected. There was no hikes expected. They also didn't announce any tapering of their bond purchases or mortgage-backed security purchases. So, they're trying to jawbone, basically. They're trying to act. They're trying to bring things down a little bit on the inflation front, and then they're trying, but without actually doing anything. So it's just talk. So again, we got to look at their actions and not what they say. That's important. And then let's look at what the market's telling us today. What are the market participants thinking the Fed said, and what that means for the future? So tech's rallying right now. So, let's look at here's the NASDAQ futures. You can see here on the hourly chart, here's the Fed. They sold it down basically right when the Fed came out. Today, strong bid, extremely strong bid in tech. Really nothing but a strong bid in tech. So I'm continuing to see rotation into tech. And as you move into the Qs on the daily, you can see we're still moving straight up into that range, that 350 area I've been talking about. Now, again, I've been talking about this for many days, weeks, I don't know. That I think that this right up in here, depending on when we get there, of course, is going to be the objective area to short tech. But I'm not really interested in shorting it until we get up there. And that comes off your March 2020 lows. That's your trend line right there off the March 2020 lows. You can see we held support. Then up when we were up in here, we continued to look at this big negative divergence on the RSI and the PPO, telling us we were going to break trend. And we did break trend. There's your break of trend. So we're no longer, this trend down here from the March 20 is no longer intact. Now what we did was we broke trend, and then we've just been back testing, kind of creating a secondary trend line. We probably can move this now, this one right here, something like this, but we're creating a secondary trend line. Looks like we're going to run up and do a full back test of that trend, or at least close, because we haven't seen that. Once you break trend, you can back test. That can happen. So nothing out of the normal. So in general, looking for a back test as an objective area to short. We have a new high today in tech. And again, that high is still a divergent high. So you can see here, I've got these circled, these divergent highs, basically meaning we have a new high in price, and yet the momentum is less. See how this is lower than the previous high here? And see how the RSI here, this is lower than the previous high. So here was your former high in price, and there's your former high in momentum. Here's your new high in price and your lower high in momentum. Price is diverging from momentum, all right? That's negative divergence. That's key. That's really important to understand in terms of why I think this is a good opportunity to short tech up here on this back test into major resistance. All right, so that's all tech's doing. SPY is not going anywhere. SPY is basically flat. And the reason why, there's a clear rotation today out of financials and industrials and into tech. That's what's happening. And that's what's been going on in the market over the last really couple months, is there's just been flip-flopping between these financials and industrials out of tech, and now we're seeing the financials and industrials sell off and the money go back into tech, and it's just this like movement back and forth. So the SPY is not really going anywhere because of that. So I don't have much read on the SPY. Really, I'm just watching this rotation between the tech and the financials and industrials to give me a signal of when a broad-based sell-off might when a broad-based sell-off might start. You need to see selling in all that, especially tech, in order to get that broad-based sell-off. So nothing really new on the SPY. I think we're likely just going to go sideways until we see something change in these other ones. So let's look at the sectors here. We'll start off with the financials. Okay, and again, I talked about the financials and the industrials over the last couple weeks as being the sectors really across the board that I thought were going to be some of the best short opportunities. And that's why I put those videos out. And one of my thumbnails a couple videos back, I basically said financials and industrials are a short, or look like a short in my opinion. And that so far has continued to work. So, again, we narrowed down the sectors, try to pinpoint the areas that we're shorting is good, or going long is good, and then just try to find some individual stocks within those sectors. So here's financials coming off 2.5%. That's a good size move today in the financials. We got our sell signal a while back, right? So we had on the financials clear up trend line right here, coming off the October 2020 area, clear up trend line, created a bearish rising wedge pattern, telling us that, okay, this is a bearish pattern. We're set up to go to the downside, but we don't have a break in trend. We also had big negative divergence. I'm always looking for those divergences telling me that momentum's fading. And that tells me that there's a high probability of a trend change. And so we had that negative divergence, see it sloping downward. And then we got our break, we pretty much got our break in trend line support right here on the financials. And it's been down ever since. So, that's been working out very cleanly. I think we're heading down to about 35.40. Most likely going to get a bounce there. And then ultimately on this XLF, if I go to the weekly chart, I believe I have this marked out. I've got it circled all the way down here. I think it's very likely we head down to about 31 area. That level, if I can get it, that's your bull market in the financials coming off 2011. This is where the trends really started. You got a level here, reaction. You finally broke. When you broke, you ran up. It was resistance here. Finally recovered, and I think we're coming back down to that trend line. All right, and that's where the longer term buyers should be waiting. So that's what I see there in the financials. Let's go to the industrials. We'll start off with the daily chart. Break of trend line support again today. So we had horizontal support right here at 101.50 or 60 or so. And we're clearly getting an impulsive breakdown. So as far as I can tell, industrials are going to head down to the next level of support. There is a slight level maybe right about here. You can see we've got a little level. We can probably mark that out. 97.25, and then below that 93.90, we'll call it. Okay, so we're watching those levels. Again, on these industrials, here's your uptrend line coming off the March 2020 lows. And I go back to talk about this stuff just so you guys can understand where the setup came from, because the selling has already started. But why did I see selling in the a couple weeks ago and really started to narrow down on these sectors? Why is that? And that's the lesson I think I'm trying to teach here that can benefit everyone. If you're in these trades, you're obviously benefiting financially. And I've been calling out individual trade ideas on these for a while. But if you're not, then at least you can get some value out of the lesson. March 2020 lows. Here's your uptrend line right there. And moving up right into this area, there's your divergent high. See the RSI and the PPO, negative divergence. I marked that out and had that circled. We then broke trend. There's a sell signal, and it's just down ever since. So we're going to get bounces along the way. We're not likely going to head straight down. But this has been a really overextended uptrend. So you're seeing, everybody scramble and rush for the exits all at once. So we could get a little more impulsive selling. I think 97.20. Maybe we'll catch a little bit of support there. But that's so far what's happening. Rush out of financials and industrials, and everyone's plowing into tech. So no broad-based sell-off because you just have this rotation. You don't have actually money leaving. Let's look at the individual trade ideas real quick, some of these. And just keep an eye on weakness in tech. If tech starts to impulsively sell off, you're going to get that broad-based sell-off because there's clear weakness in financials and industrials. And so all you need is tech most likely to fall or start to come down, and you're going to see, probably a rush for the exits across the board. All right, individual trade ideas. Here's Winnebago, down more, down another 3.8%, almost 4%. Again, this is a trade idea. So the point is, this is not the time to short this thing, in my opinion. We wanted to short on the break of trendline support, which is all right there. There's your sell signal. That was where you wanted to short. Now is not the time to short. Now is the time to look at covering into some of these support levels and taking profit. First level, I got a level of support here about 60.82, so a little bit lower, likely going to take a little profit. We could potentially get down to 46.74. I don't know, but this level is a pretty good level, 60.84. You can see that was kind of a former high back here. It held support right through here. So I think that's a pretty solid level. They might even step in a little early. But again, from the sell signal, even if you took it at the end of the day, basically, this thing's down 21%. All right, so I like it a little bit lower, and I'm likely going to start taking some profit on that one. Here's United Rentals, URI. Talked about this one for a while. Clear uptrend line right there. Negative divergence, and we broke trend. So here's your sell signal. This one's got more to go. Clearly, there was your sell signal, and we hit first level of support. Kind of had a reaction. Kind of traded sideways. Continuation. A nice impulsive breakdown. Just more selling. So likely heading down to the next level of support. I don't see support till we get down to about 267.32. So that's more to go on the downside, and that's about another 8% or so. So I think we'll probably bounce there, get a little bit of a reaction there. We break that, we got another level at 235.84. But again, this one's continuing to work. Even if you took it from the sell signal at the end of the day right here, you're up 7.5%. And I don't typically wait till the end of the day. If something looks good and it's pretty solid and impulsive, I usually grab it as it's breaking the trend line. But again, I'm actively looking at stuff. But I mean, if you got it from let's say you got it from kind of the midway point of where it started to go, you're probably up 10-11%. So looking good on the downside on that one. Tesla, just going sideways. Nothing really new to report. Again, I still think Tesla's heading down to 460. It's just they don't, it's just kind of battling it out right here. So, and Tesla's kind of a techie name. It kind of falls into the tech area. So those techie names are up today. I'm still short Tesla. Looking for more downside. Toll Brothers selling off. Not a ton today, but again, just more downside. So Toll Brothers still looks good to the downside. Here's your uptrend line there. There's your last divergent high, negative divergence on the RSI and the PPO. There's your sell signal, backtest 1, backtest 2, down she goes. And this is what I talked about. When we were backtesting, I said, okay, I think this is probably it. We're going to head down and continue to make a new lower low. Toll Brothers, I think we're heading down. This is a very clean target right there at about 50-50. Again, I like to step in a little early if you're going to cover because you want to front run. You don't want to miss the opportunity to cover. Snap, I'm not short that one anymore. I talked about that in the video. This one, Schwab, I pointed this out a while ago, but your sell signal was really right here. This is when I talked about it. I put a live comment that day. Sometimes I'll put out comments on the videos talking about opportunities I'm seeing take place in real time. And then again, we just chopped sideways and stuff, but you can see big impulsive red candle. This is a outside day candle, and a bearish engulfing outside day candle. So I'd look for continued selling in this one, in this Charles Schwab one. Next level of support is about 68.90, and we've got another level. It looks like we've got a level right about in here, somewhere right in there. We'll call it 62 flat, right in there. Let's see. Starbucks, not short that one right in. Not Peloton, I'm not short that anymore. NEO, I talked about cutting. I cut that one. It just wasn't working, and so I cut it about a week ago or so, and it was a profitable trade, just barely, because here your sell signal was right here. And I cut it when it was about right there. So slight profit, but not much on that one. Lyft, this one still looks good to the downside. It's, they're chopping it around. This one could backtest some more, but you got this uptrend line right here. I think we're likely coming down to this level at about 30, 32 bucks. Big negative divergence on lift, and we broke trendline support. There's your sell signal. And we just haven't had a full backtest of the trend line. So I could see them still popping it up and doing a full backtest and then failing. We'll see. I still like it to the downside because we have broke the uptrend. We broke the trend line support. We have negative divergence. I think it's likely we're going to continue to drift lower. Here's Ally. Again, this one I talked about for a while as being just looked like a really good short setup. And we just were waiting for our opportunity. And we got it. So here it is. You've got a clear uptrend line in Ally. We put in negative divergence. Really, the negative divergence really started to show up. It really started to show up here, and all of this basically was your negative divergence. So this is a bull trend, your bull market, this is a bull trend. No reason to short. I never saw a reason to short. But once we started to get up here and get in that negative divergence area, I started to talk about it on my channel and saying, okay, it looks like a short coming up soon, but we don't have a sell signal. We don't have a break of trendline support. We got that break of trendline support there, talked about it on that day, so you can go back and watch that June 10th video. You'll see I say we have a sell signal. And lights out, that's all she wrote. Now, pretty impulsive down move today, 5% almost. And we are breaking this support level right there, just slicing right through it at 51.11. So we'll see if this is just an overshoot, if they're just overshooting this from just it coming straight down and they're able to recover this level by the end of the day. That's possible. But otherwise, next level of support is about 43 bucks. So we'll watch for that. All right, likely to get a bounce there. Boyd Gaming continues to work, down about 4% today. Again, we've got kind of this support area, right? It's about right in here. So we can need to see that break, but I think it will. In general, clear uptrend that was intact. So off the March 2020 lows. Divergent high right here with negative divergence, obviously on the RSI and the PPO. A sell signal, and we just kind of we've been drifting sideways to down. All right, so I think the next move is continuation to the downside. Next level of support, you really need to see these lows go. If I can get this here, right in here, you want to see kind of this low, 58, we'll call it about 58 level. You want to see that go next. And if that breaks, then we're likely heading down to the next level of support, which is about 55.50. Below that, this is a more major level of support, so I think we are heading down here, 50.81, and then we have another level down here at 43.80 or so. Probably the final level down there. We could go lower, but for now we'll just say down there. So there's some levels on that one. Here's John Deere continuing to just plummet, basically down 4% today. This was the one I talked about for a while, when it was all the way up here and I talked about it being a divergent high. I was saying this looks like a good short. We just need a sell signal. So clear uptrend right there. Negative divergence in the RSI and the PPO. Your sell signal really came about here. This is really your sell signal, that big impulsive breakdown. And then you can see the next few days, this happens a lot. When you get a sell signal, they keep you guessing the next few days sometimes, where you're like, I don't know if that was the right move, And sometimes they'll make it, you go underwater a little bit where you're like, oh, I'm losing money. I'll get out of this. It's not working. But again, nothing technically changed through these 3 days here. It just continued to kind of go sideways and then boom, big rejection. And then just straight down pretty much on this one so far. So from that sell signal, if you took it at the end of the day, trying to give you guys, just the benefit of the doubt, it's down 13, almost 14% in a matter of just, a couple weeks. So just continuing to head down. Now we are coming into some support right here at about 317.92, 318. I do see some support right there. So I think we're likely going to get, a bounce. We're heading down pretty strong with strong momentum, so we could undercut it a little bit and then maybe just snap back and recover. Should be some sort of level of support right there. And if we break that, next level of support, I really don't see another level of support until we get down to about 266.72. All right, that one still looks good. DraftKings still looks good to the downside. You can see they gapped it down the other day. I took some profit on that, and I added back my short on a on it right into this level. I didn't add the full position back because we didn't quite get to that level. I was looking for a little higher. But so far today, it's up today because it's a techie name, but it's not up strong. It's only up 0.5%. And it doesn't really look that strong of a bounce. So I think we're going to fail here and just continue to drift lower. DraftKings, you have an uptrend line right there. We had negative divergence, kind of a head and shoulders top. There's your sell signal and a back test and a failure. So I'm looking for prices to move down to about 35.50. And trade idea here that has not triggered, but MGM, it just continues to hold. I think it's going to go any day. Clear uptrend line off the March 2020 lows right there. You can see negative divergence on the RSI and the PPO on the daily chart. And we're right there, pretty much right there at trend line support. I could probably move this up slightly, but we're basically right there. So any break of this trend line, and that's your sell signal. And I think we're going to get that soon. And especially if we get that broad-based sell-off. Watch tech. If tech starts to sell strong, you're going to get the broad-based sell-off because there's weakness in the industrials and the financials. And there's just not really any strength. If you have tech selling off, it's just too much, I believe. So look for the break or the sell signal on MGM, and we'll keep an eye on that one. Commodities, lots to cover today, obviously, and I'm going to get to gold here in a second. But commodities, so they're coming off, and there's kind of a little bit of an unwinding of this inflation trade, which has been the strong trade over the last couple months. And there's a little bit of an unwinding. I don't think the bull market in this inflation trade is dead. But, when you run really strong, you got to come off. It's got to be corrections to kind of wipe out the Johnny-come-latelys and the weak hands. And that's usually what we see. So I look for opportunities. I've been talking about the potential for weakness in these commodities and gold, and for some lower prices. So I want to cover that. Here's soybeans, clear uptrend line right there in soybeans. This is really where the bull market started in soybeans. SOYB is the ETF I'm looking at. And we started to put in that negative divergence. I had that circled up here. There's your negative divergence. This was a divergent high right up here. And now we're just pretty much heading straight down. We got a sell signal yesterday. There's a clear breakdown. And then today just gapping down and selling down more. So I'm not in, commodities like this one, 2050, right? Roughly, I think is your next level of support. We could go lower, but we'll watch 2050 and see how the other commodities are trading. Wheat's coming down to, wheat doesn't really have negative divergence. Well, it did have this was a divergent high right here, small divergent high. And so, we could come down to this trend line right here, about 625. That's where I'm looking for this thing to hold support right around there. Corn, again, corn, I have that circle. This is kind of the buy zone on corn, about 1850 or so on corn. So I'm looking for some lower prices there. Copper's breaking. So there's copper breaking trend. And you had a sell signal yesterday, but here's your uptrend line in copper CPER and clear breakdown of the trend with a big gap down yesterday right at support. 2 days ago, and then yesterday breaking and closing below support, and today just coming down even more. So copper trades should all be, suffering. Here's FCX, Freeport McMoran. Again, uptrend line there. This one I didn't short. I should have because I think it is a good trade, but I just didn't get it. But here's your divergent high right up here. See the negative divergence sloping down right there, and you've got a divergent high. You then have a sell signal. You basically a cluster of them, but that was a good sell signal, clear break, and then you're gapping down and just collapsing pretty much. This one down 7%. Next level of support on Freeport about 30.24. So I know someone told me the other day this was their largest position. They were buying more, but again, this is not. You don't want to just buy because something's down. You want to wait for it to run into some support. And it broke its trend. It broke its bullish trend. It had negative divergence. It was telling you well in advance that it was likely going to break trend. And now we're seeing, the price is, it's obvious. So again, there's your support, 30.27. And we have the potential to come down to about 23, about 24. There is the potential to come all the way down here at about 17. 80 or so, somewhere right in here. That's kind of a longer term trend line. You can see that trend line. We broke compulsively. We could come back and back test that. That would be a very good area to buy this thing if you could get it. Let me just kind of circle that somewhere down in there. So we'll see on that one. Joe Coffee, I've got a buy zone down in this area at about 40.70 down to 39.93. All right, let's get to gold and some of these gold miners. I see some interesting plays here. Gold's really come off pretty strong in the last couple days. And again, I was talking about, I have it circled as kind of the area of support. Sorry, let me grab the right tool. Right in, it's about 1790 to 1800. Now we're well below, we're below that a little bit right now. We're at 1771. Gold is just impulsively selling down. So one thing I want to point out, there's a longer term bullish trend line, and it really started about back here in 2019, but you can see the COVID drop. There's your COVID drop right there. We ran down to that trend line. So that's only two reactions, but then recently this correction that we had over the last couple months came all the way down to that trend line again. And I had it circled as the potential buy zone, and sure enough, run up. So you can see we're kind of, we're coming down back into that area of support again. So it's kind of right down in there. Another thing is we had this downward channel over, this was about 8 months. We broke out, and this is a back test. Usually when you break out, you at least come back in and back test. So this to me looks like a really good area of support for gold. We could go a little lower for sure, but this kind of circled area to me looks like a buy area for gold. So I'm starting to nibble back into these gold miners. Again, I talked about how I took a lot of my larger positions in the large gold miners off, and I'm starting to pick those back up again. I was buying Barrick Gold today. Still heading down on me, so we could go lower, obviously. Barrick Gold has the potential, and I switched over to Barrick Gold here. We could come all the way down to 1570. One thing is that's the longer term trend line coming off the bull market of 2015. You can see support, support, support. There's three reactions. We're starting to break down, so there is the potential, obviously, to sell all the way down there. Again, if we do, that's the buy zone, the major buy zone. I don't know if we're going to get down there. That's a ways down there, to be honest. But I don't want to throw anything out. There is the potential. It's about 25% down more. So we'll see. Not so sure we're going to get down there because gold looks like it's running into a support zone. And I just don't see Barrick selling off 25% if gold's going to hold support. So gold would likely have to break that support level, which is possible, but we'll watch it. So Barrick Gold right now is running into some support. I got a little bit of support. You can see on the daily chart, there's resistance here that we were support, and we're still breaking down though. So we'll see if there's any kind of recovery into the close today. So far, no dice. It's continuing to sell off. Here's Harmony Gold Mining. This one's coming into some support. So again, this is the major level. It's right about here at about 408. You can see all the reactions that we've had along this level where it was resistance, finally broke out, held support right here, held support through here, kind of broke down briefly, but had a bullish divergence down here. This was the area I was buying it at. Then we broke back above, held support again, and we're coming back in for a back test of that breakout. Again, you also have this downward channel, or this downward trend line that we broke out of. So you break out, you come back in for a back test. That's very common, and it's not anything out of the normal. And that's why I talked about the potential for more downside in some of these gold miners as we, come in and back test. So again, I'm looking to probably add a little bit down at this 408, and we could head all the way down to about 385. This is the buyer, and again, it's a green area. That's your buy zone on this one that I like, at least. Here's another small miner, IM Gold, IAG, coming into some support. You can see we had this level right about 327. Support here, support there, support all through here. And then we kind of chopped out a little bit, but it was basically resistance. We're coming back down to that level. So good support right in here. All right, we could go lower though, because you have this downtrend line right here, and we broke out of that. You can see we broke out. We already back tested it once, so I don't think we're going to back test it again. I think we're likely going to hold about this area, about 326 or so. So I'm likely going to add a little bit here to a long position, and we're just looking for, another move higher. You move up, you pull back, you move up, you pull back. That's how it works. All right, so that one looks good. BTG breaking down today. You can see it was holding this support level 48, clear impulsive break today to the downside. Coming down to, let's see where the support is on this one. This one you have this downward channel. Let me grab the right tool right here. And we obviously support at 435, and we could obviously go all the way down to 378. That's completely possible. We'll keep an eye on that one. Okay, guys, sorry I had to take a quick break, so I'm not exactly sure where I left off, but we're going to wrap with this Agnico Eagle. Again, downtrend line here. So the bigger picture, really, if you want to roll back and look at the bigger picture, we're in a bull market, all right, in these miners and gold. You've got lows. You've got really going all the way back to 2015. You've got higher lows marking, here's the bottom. There's a higher low. And recently we had a big correction in these miners. Back in the August 2020 was your high, and you had a good correction in these things where they came off, almost 40%. We then had so see the downtrend of that correction right there. We broke out to the upside, and we're coming in for a back test. All right, that's what that looks like. So again, this looks like the area. We're not there yet. Like on this one, I think we can go down a little bit more. Potentially down to this. Probably this support level right about there at a 62.82, but a little bit more downside in a lot of these miners, and we're going to be hitting that major support area where I think we're likely going to bottom out and continue higher. So I'm looking at building back positions in these miners as we come down a little bit. All right, so that's all I got, guys. Long video, I know, but there's just a lot to cover post-Fed. And so I want everyone to kind of be on point with what I'm seeing. Watch those short trades. They're working very well. And we're looking to probably start to cover some of those, taking some profit off the table. And then looking to build positions or start new positions in some of these miners as they come down a little bit. Okay, guys, leave me a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.